We're in Bowling Green, or just outside of Bowling Green, and I told you we're having a non-fishing adventure, but you might recognize where we are. Can't see the sign from this side. We are at the Corvette Museum, and we're about to go inside. If they'll allow me to video, I will. So I'm told I'm allowed to video in here, so I'm approaching this beautiful blue one, but like the colors that hit your eye and the cars wearing them, I mean, have a look. And every one of these cars has a tag on it congratulating the person who is the proud new owner. And I'll come back with some more. And here we have a Corvette that somehow they never managed to finish. You got the engine on the inside here that I would read up on it. I can't just eyeball an engine and know what it is. Let me show you what it's supposed to look like from the other side. 1953. Pretty car. Okay. I'm probably insulting this car, but who owns a Pug?
Projected to be at $10,000. It's cost them $100,000.
Cost them $100,000 to build it? Unanticipated design costs. This is a 1946 Stout concept car. So if you're familiar with the old cartoons about the cars that would do everything for you, I think this guy made it in there. And then here's a 47 Roadster, which they would probably run me out of here for saying it, but I like these more than I like Corvettes. I'm reading, so don't think I know stuff. The 1951 Crosley Super Sport, the first post-war sports car. So this was after World War II, when guys got home and they wanted to go fast. This thing says it got 30 miles per gallon. So our modern design actually has some work to do to catch up to old design. There you have it. So the Corvette Museum is not just Corvettes. We've got an old T-Bird. The sign reads 1955 Ford Thunderbird. I've got a little bit more to say on Thunderbirds at some point, maybe. And this is the 53 that apparently, according to one of the other placards, never went into production. This was the car that I showed earlier that was what do they call it, cutaway, where you could see half of everything of the car. This is a completed one, but apparently these were never actually produced and sold to the public. Here's a flathead V8, which, being not a car guy, at least now when somebody says a flathead, if you look here, that's the head, and it's decidedly flat. So now when you hear somebody say flathead V8, you can maybe put a picture in your mind of what you've seen. And then over here, we've got a cutaway 327, which is 327 cubic inches of displacement with a transmission attached to it, and it's got a cutaway transmission back there. And I think, is that supposed to be a shifter? I don't think so. Maybe. It links up in there, so it's probably a shifter linkage at the very least. That's a cutaway 327 with plastic valve covers so that you can see the valves. And I don't know how they turn this for demonstration, but they may be able to get this engine to rotate at the very least. It's not going to run, obviously. They have a mock-up of a 1950 style gas station. You can see the lollipop lights on the pumps, and then you've got the service guy who would Here you pull up, run out and check your oil, wash your windshield, fill your tank, and just charge you what it said on the pump, and that was it. He was just there to see to the customer's needs. And then there's the storefront that did not have a convenience store inside usually, but they also had the garage where you could get whatever repairs you needed on your, well, here it would be a Corvette, but on your car.
Cost $4,200.
Wow.
Yep.
It was expensive then too. This car apparently belonged to Roy Orbison, 1967. If you know the song Pretty Woman, it wasn't Van Halen, it wasn't somebody else later, it was Roy Orbison. And any following edition of Pretty Woman was a cover. But that was his Corvette. And he paid just a little over $4,000 for it, which was a pile of money then. But you'd spend a lot more than that, even adjusted for inflation, to have one just like it, and probably a whole lot more to have that one. And then the yellow one, who did the yellow one belong to?
427, he doesn't say.
Just a 67 Vet?
Yeah, basically.
Nice pretty, what would you call that, lemon cream yellow? I wouldn't kick it out of the garage.
Henry Younger.
Henry Young. Everybody who knows me knows that I have kind of unusual taste. I would gleefully drive this thing around. There's nowhere to put your fishing poles though, so maybe not. I don't have details on this one, but there was a fellow named Zora who was part of the Corvette history. And this has got his helmet, racing suit. And this almost looks like one of those rocket boats that you see, the shape and design. And it's all, you know, fluid dynamics, aerodynamics, all very similar. Most engineers, if they're taking anything about resistance and streamlining, it's all fluid dynamics, because the atmosphere is considered a fluid too. So I bet you didn't know I knew that stuff. Okay, pretty race car. More pretty race cars. Love them. Who bought Gran Turismo back in the day?
They averaged 175.88 miles per hour for 24 hours straight, proving that the stock Corvette was more than up to the challenge. That's incredible.
This is the model for the Gran Turismo game. There's the game, clip of the game rolling up screen. This is a 1957 Corvette Super Sport. And you can see this. I mean, most people only see these kind of designs in cartoons now. But you've got this gorgeous paint job. And you got that little jet engine headrest. Looks like a jet engine. Gorgeous car. They call this one the 61 Mako Shark. And my fellow fishermen, you're going to have to pause the screen if you want to read that. But you can see by the paint fade, they gave it that white belly and that sort of darker and darker top. It's even got the Mako Shark logo on the front quarter panel with a shark on it. By the way, Mako is one of the fastest fish in the ocean. And just the sparkle and shine on this thing is enough to basically turn any man into an idiot. It's a beautiful car. More of the shark. If you look at, you got gills right there.
Yep.
You got the shark nose. This one's a right-hand drive. So, I mean, in the US, most people are familiar with where driving takes place on the right side of the vehicle. And only in the US. I mean, if you're doing okay financially and you want a mail route for no reason at all, I guess you could go for one of these. But the UK, Africa, Australia, Japan, gorgeous cars with a right-hand drive. For you, a Corvette golf cart. You can just make out the emblem on the side underneath the seat. Which, I mean, okay. But I'm looking at that weird speckled pattern back there. That, I don't know, is that like a radar defeating Corvette? And then, don't know the year model, 65 XP 819 rear engine. These cars are all so sweet. Definitely not something I would use on a day-to-day basis if I had one anyway, because most of what I do is utilitarian. So I just went through an exhibit that explained that the display here in the center dome had a big collapse, and you can see on the floor there was a cave underneath the place when they built it. That, unbeknownst to them, because we don't use ground radar to build stuff most of the time. And one day, and they said fortunately nobody was here. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and no people were here and got harmed, but the whole thing collapsed in, and you can see there's an outline of it. And this was the 1.5 millionth Corvette that fell down into the pit that they pulled back out with a crane. And as you can see, it got a little dinged up. I can imagine there might have been a couple jokes through the tears about, well, that'll probably just buff right out. Here's a neat different one. This is the 1955 V8 Corvette, and it talks about the Thunderbird a little bit, that they're wanting to give you an option, and they even kind of leaned into the Thunderbird design a little bit, which, just because it stands out a little bit from the other ones. I'm sure back in the day it may not have been as well received by Corvette fans who were already growing. They might have said, yeah, come on, you're a Corvette, why are you trying to copy the Thunderbird? But check out those taillights, little rocket fins on the back end. 1955. It's got a V8 engine in it, which might have been the 450. Nope, it's 265 V8. I think the 427 was another standard vet engine later on, but this isn't that. Sweet car. There's not a lot of description offered on this one. I could swear to you that I saw one of these somewhere when I was a kid. Two rotor. You might have to look that up and try to see what that means. It says 2-speed automatic transmission. Okay. But this is the car I'm referring to. And I said to my brother jokingly, I think Ford Pinto kind of stole a few design points. This is obviously not a Ford Pinto, but if you look at some of the features of it wide, you can see where the designers of the Pinto said, hey, let's take some features, and they ruined them. So all these, and you can pause the video if you want to look at this longer, all these super slick Corvettes that are just sex machines, and my taste in my eyes take me right to this vehicle that would be at home, driving around Superman's mom and dad on Krypton. Love it. Corvette emblem painted big and bold on the nose. And as the description showed you, it wasn't a production model. It was a aerodynamics test.